that beautiful? It's still lit. Somebody took the time to print out or grab some kind of a billboard. No border or belief should determine the worth of a human being. Boy, that says it all about everything we do, doesn't it? But these flowers are just beautiful in this composite. I was purposely at the end of the 10,000 demonstrators because I had moved back and forth, capturing images, coming and going off to the side, depending on where we were. My goal was to get as many people, but as many signs as I got because they were so beautifully thought out, written and all that stuff. I don't know how many miles it was, maybe two and a half, but it was 98 degrees. So everybody came up here and kind of sitting around. There was people standing over there watching the demonstrators go. A lot of people headed north, but there were so many, the parade continued down to 100 South to the east. So I kind of hung around here. There was a little kid was playing on the drums. It was really cute. Walked around, it was a long day, long march. So I started to move up there, and then all of a sudden, shots fired. And a lot of the images that I captured were based on the fact that I moved forward towards wherever the situation was, and people were running. They were patiently running. They were, very, very nice to each other, but I saw people grabbing each other to pull them along, and then a whole pile of people started laying down here by the steps. Again, everybody just heard people yelling, shots fired, and people are jumping. They're jumping over the fence here, behind anything, because nobody really knew what was happening. As I'm sitting here, essentially the street cleared. It cleared. And I still didn't have a fix on whatever, but all of a sudden I see tons of police. It was really very impressive, if you don't mind me giving an attaboy to the Salt Lake City Police. Watching all the police converge down the driveway here, across the parking lot, by the building over there, and everybody was headed to the parking lot. Not assuming, I think they had a pretty good idea that he went in there. People were telling the cops, he's in there. They all were manipulating a position that all of a sudden sent everybody towards the parking lot. Apparently the fellow that was carrying the rifle, the AR-15, he took off, and all these assumptions were made that he was the one that was shooting. Saw him running. He was all dressed in black, carrying an AR-15. He had a knapsack. I don't know what else he had on, maybe a vest. But he spontaneously, I'm thinking, heard the gunshots from these two peacekeepers that assumed that he was headed toward the crowd to start shooting them. And I just stopped here and stood around here to watch what, if anything, would be developing, if there would be any confrontation inside. And, that's exactly what happened. I then walked back here onto the street. They were working furiously to keep the gentleman alive. There was still more police coming. And then they started to cordon off the entire area with their yellow tape, which is indicative of a crime scene. Right. So I had no idea where the shots came from when the peacekeepers shot him once in the side. And unfortunately, one of the other bullets hit AFA. Police were still everywhere, locking down the scene or whatever they call it. And that's when the TV station, I think it was Channel 4, came up and we talked about it. Watching all of this taking place, all these police coming towards them, and they sat there for a period of time, I don't think knowing what was really going on. So you had more police coming, you had ambulance personnel showing up to take care of the gentleman that ultimately passed. Then, interestingly enough, one of the individuals who, I don't think he was a doctor or a paramedic, but he had a stethoscope hanging around his neck, and you'll see that. He came up and it was kind of standing around, talking to people, or they were asking, and he volunteered that he helped out with the attempt to save him. But there was another guy sitting there, and I believe there's also a picture, a young African-American gentleman who apparently was near enough to when the shots were fired, actually felt the bullet come by him, or a bullet come by him.
Wow.
It was that definitive. And there was people there that went over to tell, I believe, a police officer, they may want to talk to this guy. So that was about 30, 45 minutes. I grabbed, pictures of down the street. When in a couple of long shots, and I'm not sure how well the focus is, they were arresting another gentleman. Well, it turned out to be one of the peacekeepers, one of the people that pulled out their handguns and started shooting at Arturo when he's running. This is when it got all complicated and messy and messed up.
I mean, it's messy anyway, but...
Yeah, of course. And we're looking, myself and the fellow from the TV station, Dave, I said, what are they arresting that fellow for? We had no idea, other than, was he an accomplice with Arturo? Well, that wasn't the case at all.
Right.
He was one of the two peacekeepers that were, I believe, arrested, and then they had to define what their function was, helping prevent, at least what they said, I guess, was more of a tragedy than actually took place. But they put cuffs on him, they patted him down, and that's about where I decided, enough is enough. Seeing the kid that got the bullet by him, and my closing image was, the two shoes, the floppies that somebody literally ran out of as they were running away from the shooting scene. We're about at the same exact time when the shooting took place. That was 7:56. It's about 7:40 here now, but you can see shadows and everything, but everybody else was, in the shadow of the tree and the buildings and everything. And I believe it was a clear day, it was a warm day, but you get an exact idea of what the lighting was like. And remember, the parade, the demonstration had stopped. It was all gone. And people that were involved down here were just hanging around, talking, that type of thing. So the demonstration, the No King folks had moved on down 100 South, ending a fabulous day, one of 2,000 demonstrations all over the country, 5 million people, the largest single-day demonstration that ever took place in this country. One of the reasons that I got down to Pioneer Park very early and watched the crowd grow and grow and grow, and people were constantly coming across the street for an hour and a half. They just kept loading in there, and then the people that organized the event, the No King people, I was very interested in seeing the demographics of those that participated.
Right.
Little ones in strollers, ones in wagons that you saw. Not just 10,000 people, but virtually anybody and everybody you could imagine was there on their own accord, but they were there as individuals, but collectively it was a statement to be sent to Washington, D.C. that a lot of people, and not just a certain clientele, are very upset of what's going on with these ICE interventions. where the 287G, which is essentially the law that was put in place that affords ICE to have local police departments participating in finding and locating people. And there's only a few states in the country that have state laws that prevent that from happening.
Right.
Every other state, in theory, has police departments that are out there that are essentially an arm or extension of their immigration, aggressive immigration